Nadia didn't cry at her own wedding, not even close. She walked into that room and felt it hit her like a wall. The smell of white orchids and cold power. 100 strangers in silk and tailored black, all watching. The chandeliers were blinding. The music was too soft. Everything was designed to feel like a dream. It felt like a trap. She kept walking anyway. Chin up, hands steady. Her heels clicked on the marble floor. Sharp, loud, like a heartbeat that refused to apologize. She had learned a long time ago how to walk into a room like she owned it, even when she owned nothing. Even when everything was terrifying. You put your shoulders back. You breathe from your stomach. You do not let them see the fear. The man at the end of the aisle had his back half turned, speaking to someone in a low voice. He didn't look up when she entered. Didn't look up when the music shifted. Didn't look up when 100 pairs of eyes swung toward the doors. Nadia kept her eyes locked on him. She studied him the way you study a threat. Tall, dark suit that cost more than most people's monthly salary. Shoulders that said he hadn't spent his evenings on a sofa. Black hair swept back from a face that was all sharp angles. Controlled. Everything about this man was controlled. She was 3 steps away when he finally turned, and the look on his face stopped her heart for 1 full second. It wasn't cold. It wasn't calculating. It was something much worse than either of those things. It was the look of a man who had planned everything down to the last detail, accounted for every variable, and then she had walked through those doors and ruined all of it with 1 look. She filed that away. She kept walking. He leaned down when she reached him. His cologne hit her first, dark and expensive, the kind that stayed on your skin for days whether you asked it to or not. His breath was warm near her ear. "I didn't think you'd actually come," he said, low, only for her. She looked straight ahead at the officiant. "You paid my flight," she said. "I always honor a commitment." Something moved at the corner of his mouth. Not a smile, not yet, but something. His name was Kang Jae-Won, only son of the most powerful man in Seoul, heir to an empire built on dark money and decisions made in rooms no one photographed. He ran the clean half of everything: hotels, real estate, security firms, the legitimate face of a family whose other face had put men in the ground. And now, technically, her husband. 1 year, she told herself, just 1 year. Then you take the money and you go home, and you never think about this city again. She had absolutely no idea. 48 hours before that wedding, Nadia had been sitting in a glass office in London, looking at a contract she could not believe was real. The lawyer was small and neat. He had the kind of face that gave nothing. He placed the folder between them on the desk like it was made of something that could break. "The Kang family requires a wife for their eldest son," he said. 1 year. You attend the required events. You present as a genuine relationship. You maintain total discretion. He paused. "In exchange, every debt currently attached to your family is erased. Your sister's surgery is paid for in full, immediately, before you board the plane." He slid the folder toward her. Page 7. Nadia looked at the number. She read it twice. She looked up. "Why me?" she said. Jae-Won reviewed 43 candidates personally. The lawyer's face was a wall. "He chose you." She almost laughed. "Me? A secondary school teacher from Tottenham?" "Smart," the lawyer said, composed under pressure, multilingual, and completely desperate. He said this last word without apology, the way a doctor names a diagnosis. He needed someone who would be convincing, someone who would not crack, someone whose desperation was the kind that came from love rather than greed. He looked at her. "That is considerably harder to find than you might think." Nadia stared at the window. The gray London sky doing absolutely nothing helpful. She thought about Amma, her sister. 20 years old, funny and furious, and lying in a hospital in Accra with a heart condition and a surgery cost that Nadia had looked at so many times, the number had stopped meaning anything. She thought about the second job her mother had quietly taken without telling her. She thought about the letter from the bank on her kitchen table at home. The one she hadn't opened because she already knew what it said. She thought about what it would cost to say no. She thought about what it would cost if she did. She picked up the pen. Her hand did not shake. She had not let her hands shake in years. That night she called Amma on video. "Hey, your surgery is sorted." She kept her voice completely even. "Don't ask questions yet. Just trust me." Alma stared at the screen. Nadia. Her voice dropped. What did you do? Something smart, Nadia said. Get some sleep. She ended the call, sat in the dark of her flat, with the signed contract on the table, and the city making its ordinary noise outside. And she told herself the only lie that mattered. 1 year. That's nothing. You can survive anything for 1 year. The penthouse was obscene. That was the only word that fit. 63rd floor. Glass on 3 sides. Seoul spread below them in every direction, like a galaxy someone had knocked over. The furniture was minimal and precise, and clearly chosen by someone who had never once in their life been unsure of their own taste. Jae-Won gave her the tour, with the manner of a man performing a task he found fatally absurd. Kitchen. Sitting room. Your room. Last door on the left. There is a key. Use it if it makes you feel better. She opened the wardrobe in her room. Designer clothes. Her exact sizes. Her exact style. Not close. Exact. Someone went through my social media, she said. My assistant. He looked completely unapologetic. You need to look like you live here. Not like a guest who arrived yesterday. Nadia turned and faced him. Up close, in the quiet of the apartment, he was more complicated than he'd been in the ceremony. The tiredness he was managing very carefully. The tension in his jaw that hadn't fully released since she'd first seen him. The sense of someone who had been holding a very large thing together for a very long time. She looked at him steadily. What do you actually want from this year, she said. Not the contract language. The real answer. He met her eyes. Dark eyes. Steady. Nothing flinching in them. My father is dying. He said it simply, like a fact about the weather. He has wanted to see me settled for years. He wants to believe I have someone. That I'm not facing what comes next alone. He paused. I need this to look real enough, that he can have peace at the end. That's the whole answer. Nadia kept her face neutral. It won't, he said. He said it with the absolute confidence of a man who has never once been surprised by his own feelings. It's a transaction. We both know what it is. She nodded. She said nothing else. She let him have that certainty. She already suspected it wouldn't last. She went to the window that first night. Couldn't sleep. Seoul at 2 a.m. looked the same as Seoul at midnight. Just blazing, indifferent. She pressed her palm flat against the cold glass and felt the city's indifference like something physical. She thought, everyone in that building down there is living a life that has nothing to do with mine. That thought usually comforted her. Right now it made her feel the size of what she had stepped into. She thought about the look on his face at the ceremony again. That single cracked second. She had catalogued it and put it away, and she was not getting it back out. She was not examining it. She was not asking what it meant. That was the rule. The only rule that mattered in a situation like this one. The contract was a transaction. She was the instrument of it, and instruments did not develop opinions about the music. She almost convinced herself. The second Sunday, she came to the kitchen on purpose. She told herself it was just for coffee. She was already dressed. She had her book. There happened to be a stool at the counter at the right height. She sat down. He was already at the stove. He didn't look up when she came in, but his shoulders changed. Just slightly. Like something had arrived that was not unwelcome. They didn't talk much that evening. She read. He cooked. The music was something low and Korean that she half recognized from a film she had seen years ago. The apartment smelled like garlic and sesame oil. Outside Seoul did its relentless blazing thing. It was, she thought, the most comfortable she had been in 6 weeks. She didn't examine that either. She just sat with it. She thought, there are worse things than this. Whatever this is, a lot worse things. That night she lay in the enormous bed and looked at the Seoul skyline through the floor-to-ceiling glass and thought about what she had walked into. The money, the guards at the lobby, the car that had met her at the airport without being asked, the clothes in the wardrobe that fit her like they had been made for her because in some sense they had been. Someone had spent time on her. Time and thought and attention. She thought about the look on his face when she had walked in, the way it had cracked for 1 second before he put it back together. She was going to have to be very, very careful. She met Kang Hyun-soo on the 4th day, the family compound in Sungbuk-dong, high stone walls, guards at the gate, who had the specific stillness of men who had been doing this particular job for a very long time. Gardens so immaculate they made her uncomfortable. That kind of beauty always had something underneath it. Hyun-soo sat by the window, in a room that smelled of cedar and old power, and something else she could not name. Something that felt like the weight of 40 years. Illness had taken things from him, but not the eyes. The eyes were exactly his son's. Sharp as something broken, missing absolutely nothing. He looked at her the way you look at something you are deciding whether to trust. "You're African," he said. His English was measured, heavy, every word chosen. Ghanaian British. She met his eyes. "Yes, my son chose you, so I understand. Why do you think he chose you?" She didn't pause. "Because I'm not afraid of him, and I'm not here to take anything from him." She held the old man's gaze without blinking. He needed someone who wouldn't flinch at the hard things. "I don't flinch." Hyun-soo studied her. That long calculating silence of a man who had spent a lifetime taking the measure of people. Then he made a sound, low, somewhere between a breath and a laugh. "The last woman they brought here answered every single question my son had told her to answer," he said. "For 3 hours, nothing real came out of her mouth." He looked at Nadia directly. "I cannot stand people who have nothing real to say." "Then we'll get along fine," Nadia said. The corner of his mouth moved, just slightly. He reached out. He took her hand. Not examining, not testing, just holding. The grip of a man making an assessment that had nothing to do with words. "My son chose well," he said. His voice was quiet. His son was standing directly behind her. Even if he doesn't know why yet. Behind her, she felt Jae-Won go absolutely still, like a man who had just heard something he was not prepared for. "Besties, did you feel that?" The most dangerous man in Seoul just held this woman's hand and told her his son chose well. Even if he doesn't know why yet. If your heart just did something it doesn't usually do, hit that subscribe button right now. Right now. Because what Jae-Won doesn't know about himself yet is about to absolutely destroy him in the best way possible. This story is only getting started. I am begging you to stay with me. The weeks that followed were the most dangerous weeks of Nadia's life. Not because of the armed guards in the lobby. Not because of the dark money she could feel moving underneath everything, the way you feel current under still water. Because of Sunday evenings in the kitchen. He cooked. That was the thing she had not expected and could not defend herself against. This cold, precise, shuttered man. In the kitchen on Sunday evenings, with his sleeves rolled to the elbows, and music on low, completely focused, like cooking was the only thing in the world that required his full attention, and he was grateful for the excuse to give it. She found him there the first Sunday. He didn't notice her in the doorway. She stood there for a full minute before she could make herself move. Watching him. The way he handled the knife. The way he tasted the broth and adjusted something without looking up. The way his shoulders lost about 40% of their tension the moment he was in that room. Something about it cracked a small hole in the wall she was carefully building. "You cook," she said. "My mother died when I was 12. He said it without drama, like a fact he had long since made peace with. "My father ran the empire. I fed myself." He paused and put a bowl in front of her without asking. "Galbi Jim." The smell of it hit her like something ancient and warm and completely disarming. Something that reminded her of her mother's kitchen on Sundays. Something that had no business being here, in a penthouse 50 floors above a city she barely knew. She sat at the counter. She did not plan to. Her body just moved toward him, like a pull she had not signed up for. They ate. He asked about Ghana. She told him. About Accra in the August heat. The quality of the light there, golden and thick. Her father, who had taught English lit and quoted Alma Ata Idu at the dinner table, and died of a heart attack at 58 in a way that was still somehow a surprise, even though it shouldn't have been. Her sister, who had his eyes and his stubbornness, and his habit of making you laugh when you were trying to be serious about something. Who was going to be absolutely fine. Nadia was going to make sure of it. He listened the way very few people listen, like she was the most important thing in the room. Like nothing she was saying was wasted. "Tell me about you," she said, when she finally ran out of words. He was quiet for a moment, deciding. "I had a plan once," he said, "when I was 23. Walk away from all of this, take what I'd learned, take my languages, go somewhere the name Kang meant nothing, and build something clean." He looked at his hands. "Then my father had a health scare. There was no one else. He built everything around family, and the family was me. So I stayed. And I decided, if I was staying, I was going to drag this empire out of the dark, whether it wanted to come or not." I was going to clean it, even if it took everything I had. Wash the blood off the money, she said quietly. He met her eyes. The money has a lot of blood on it. He said it without blinking. I want to be a man my father can be proud of, and a man my children will never have to apologize for. At the same time. He paused. That's the whole fight. Every day. That's what it is. Nadia sat with that. She looked at this man, with his tired eyes, and his rolled-up sleeves, and the weight of a dynasty pressing down on him from every direction. She thought about what it cost to decide to be better than what you were handed. She felt the hole in her wall get wider. She noticed. She did not address it. She told herself firmly that this was still just the job. They stayed at that table for 2 more hours. She could never account for the time afterward. 3 weeks in, she made a mistake. A small one. He almost missed it. They were at a family lunch. A sharp-eyed woman named Mrs. Bake was asking questions with the precision of someone conducting an audit. Then, she switched to Korean without warning. She said in clean, formal Korean that Jae-Won had made a good choice. That a teacher would know how to say the right things without saying anything dangerous. Nadia's face did not move, but her breathing changed for 1 second. Just one. On the way back to the car, Jae-Won said, "You understood every word she said." Nadia kept walking. Your face, when she switched languages. He was calm, precise, not angry, just watching her the way he always watched things when he was learning them. You understood all of it. She stopped walking. She thought about lying. She decided against it. Yes, she said. He stopped too. The garden, stone paths, flowering trees, the smell of something sweet she couldn't identify. He looked at her for a long moment that had nothing performed in it. How much Korean do you speak? Enough. I did a year in Seoul during my postgraduate. She met his eyes. I didn't tell you because I didn't want you to think I was listening through your conversations. I wasn't. But I am fluent. She paused. I'm sorry for not telling you earlier. What else? He said quietly. What else have you not told me? She took a breath. She made a decision. All of it. I read everything available about your family before I came. I wanted to understand what I was walking into. She held his gaze. And I have sat with your father 3 times now. I watch how he moves, how he breathes, how much effort it costs him to hold a cup. She paused. I have medical training. I worked hospital shifts during university. I know what I'm looking at, Jae-Won. He does not have 4 months. He has 2, maybe less. The silence fell like something physical, heavy, real. He said nothing for a long time. The fountain nearby, the birds, the absolute stillness of a man absorbing something he had known and been refusing to know at the same time. Then, does he know that you can see it? I think, she said carefully, that he is exhausted from everyone softening it. I think what he actually wants is someone to sit in the truth with him, not manage it, just be in it. She paused. That someone should be you. You're his son. You're the only one who can be. Jae-Won turned away. She watched his shoulders, the way they held everything he was not letting out, the way a man looks when he is very close to something he has been avoiding for a long time. I've been giving him targets for 2 years, he said. Futures to look forward to. Plans. Things to wait for. He stopped. He told me once, he said, Jae-Won, I'm not a project. He stopped again. I didn't know how to do anything else. Nadia thought about her father, the last 6 weeks, everything she had tried to shield him from. The specific, particular grief of understanding too late that protection sometimes just means you weren't really with the person at the end. Stop trying to fix it, she said. Go in there and just be with him. That's the whole thing. That's everything. Just be there. He reached out. He took her hand. Not a performance. Not for the 100 people who had just watched them at lunch. Because something in him had run out, and she was the nearest solid thing, and he needed something to hold on to. Her breath caught. The hole in her wall split open. She stood there in that garden, with his hand warm in hers, and thought, clearly and calmly, there it is, the line I told myself I would not cross. She thought that for about 30 seconds. Then she stopped thinking it. Because she was beginning to understand something about lines. They move. They move before you notice. And by the time you see where they went, you are already on the other side. Besties, are you okay? Because I am barely okay right now. She came here for a transaction. She came here for her family. She told herself every single day that it was nothing personal, it was just business, she was keeping it clean. And now she is standing in a garden in Seoul, with his hand in hers, and she knows. She already knows. If you felt that moment, smash that like button right now. Drop a comment. Tell me honestly, would you have kept that line? Or would you have done exactly what Nadia just did? Because what happens next is going to hit you somewhere you didn't expect. Stay with me. They went back to Sungbukdong the next morning, early. Jae-Won barely spoke in the car. She didn't push. She had spent enough weeks learning him to know that he needed quiet before he could move towards something hard. She sat beside him and looked out at Seoul going about its enormous morning, and said nothing. He went in alone. She waited in the garden, 1 hour, 2. She sat on a stone bench beside the fountain and watched the light move across the walls, and drank tea that a housekeeper brought without being asked. She thought about her father, about the last weeks, about sitting in hospital chairs and talking about nothing important. Because talking about nothing important was sometimes all you had left, and sometimes that was enough, and sometimes it wasn't, and you never knew which until it was over. That was enough. The threat arrived 4 days after the funeral. A photograph on his assistant's phone. Nadia's sister Amma, standing outside the hospital in Accra. Taken from across the street. Deliberate. Calculated. Cold as ice. Below it, a message in English. The new wife of Kang Jae-Won should remember that her family's safety is a courtesy. Courtesies can be withdrawn. Nadia felt the cold start at the base of her spine and move upward and settle in her chest. She looked at the photograph for a long time. Amma's face, her easy walk, the way she was smiling at something off to the left, completely unaware, completely unhurt, completely not knowing. Nadia walked down the hall. She put the phone on Jae-Won's desk. Said this arrived 20 minutes ago. She watched his face change. She had seen him cold before. This was different. This was the cold of a man removing everything that was not the problem directly in front of him. Every feeling. Every other thought. Just the threat. Just what had to happen. The park organization, he said. They've been waiting for my father's death. Vulnerable. They want to test whether I have the strength to hold what he built. He stood. His jaw was tight. Your sister and your mother are protected within the hour. I need you to hear that before anything else. That is my first priority. She met his eyes. She did not let her voice shake. What are you going to do? Handle it, specifically. He looked at her, a long look. She put her hand flat on the desk between them. Tell me everything, she said. I am your wife. I am not standing behind glass while you make decisions that have my family in them. Tell me all of it. He told her. Every detail, no softening. 3 organizations, men who had been loyal to the Kang family for decades, and who had every reason to want the park network to understand that the family was not weakened, not available, not open for testing. The response would be fast. It would be visible. It would be final. The people who took that photograph, she said. What happens to them? They learn they were wrong about me. His voice was quiet and absolutely flat. No children, she said. No one who has nothing to do with this world. Never. He looked at her directly. That is the one line this family has never once crossed. I will not cross it. Not for any reason. She believed him. 8 weeks and she knew exactly where his edges were. She knew this one was real. Okay, she said. Okay. Go handle it. She held his gaze until he couldn't look away, and then come back to me. Something shifted in his face, like a door that had been locked for a very long time, opening one edge, like a man seeing something he had been refusing to see. He was gone for 2 days. She stayed in the apartment with Hyojin, a guard who made excellent coffee and spoke almost nothing, and was extremely good at her actual job, which was making sure nothing reached Nadia from outside without clearance. She called Amma on video. Amma was fine, slightly annoyed about the security people who had appeared near the hospital. She'd been told it was related to a local civil matter. She didn't believe it. She was choosing to accept it, because Nadia's face on the screen was asking her to. You look different, Amma said. How so? Like someone who found something they weren't looking for. Amma tilted her head. Is that good or terrifying? Nadia looked at the city outside the window, the way it blazed and moved and kept going. All that life. Both, she said. Honestly, both. Go to sleep, she told her sister. I'll call you tomorrow. Jae-Won came back at 2 in the morning. She was in the kitchen. She had told herself she was there for tea. That was not the whole truth, and she knew it. The moment she heard the front door and felt her whole body release a breath it had been holding for 48 hours. He looked like a man who had done something necessary and was carrying it the way you carry necessary things. He stopped when he saw her. The 2 cups. The light she had left on. It's over, he said. Your family is safe. The park organization has received the message. She nodded. Were you hurt? No. She slid a cup across to him. He sat down across from her. They drank in silence. The city outside. The 2 of them in here. Nadia, he said. She looked at him. I thought you might leave, when it got dangerous. He looked at the cup in his hands. Take what had already been paid and walk. He paused. It would have been the rational thing to do. She looked at him steadily. I'm not rational about the people I care about. The kitchen went still. He looked up, his eyes on hers, open in a way she had not seen before, undefended. Is that the first time you've said that, he said, that you care about me? Probably, she said. Yes. He set down his cup. He reached across the table and took her hand the same way he had in the garden. Like the realest thing he had done in years. Like something that didn't have a strategy underneath it. I have been trying not to feel this since you arrived, he said. I stopped being able to not feel it about 3 weeks ago. He looked at their hands on the table. I don't know what to do with that. I've never let myself not know what to do. She looked at him. She thought about the contract. The 12 months. Page 7 with its number. The line she had told herself she wouldn't cross. The contract ends in 10 months, she said. That's what it says. I walk away, you walk away. Clean. Yes, he said. What if I don't want clean? His hand tightened on hers, just slightly, just enough. Then we write something else, he said. No lawyers, no paper, no page 7. Just us. He looked at her. What do you want, Nadia? Tell me what you actually want. She held his gaze. She thought about everything that had brought her to this kitchen at 2 in the morning. The flight, the ceremony, the garden and the fountain and his hand. The truth she had told him about his father when every instinct told her to protect herself instead. 2 days of waiting and not admitting she was afraid for him. She thought about Alma, saying you found something you weren't looking for. She thought about her father quoting poetry at dinner. The most dangerous love is the kind that costs you something, and you pay it anyway. I want to stay, she said. Not because of the contract, because I want to. Because this thing between us is real, and I'm not walking away from something real because a piece of paper told me to. He looked at her for a long time. Searching. Making sure. Needing every word to be completely true. Every word was completely true. Then stay, he said. His voice low, warm in a way she had only heard once before, in a garden, at a fountain, when everything was just beginning. Stay because you want to. That is the only reason that means anything to me. She smiled. A real one. The first one she had given him that had nothing performed in it. He leaned across the table. He kissed her once, soft, a question and answer, both at the same time. Outside the window, Seoul blazed on 60 floors below, enormous and completely indifferent to the fact that something small and permanent had just happened, in a kitchen at 2 in the morning, between 2 people who had come together for one reason and stayed for something else entirely. That was the moment the contract died. Not in any office, not with any signature. Here, like this, quietly, over tea, the most ordinary beginning of the most extraordinary thing. 6 months later, Nadia stood in that same kitchen at 7 in the morning making coffee. The contract was a memory. The year was irrelevant. Alma was 2 floors down in an apartment the Kang family had arranged, recovering better than the doctors had hoped, calling every single morning to report that her Korean was better than Nadia's now. Which was honestly true. She had sat in the garden of the Kang house in Songbuk-dong, and looked at the cedar trees, and the stone path, and the fountain. And she had said, your father would have loved this. Not the money, Nadia. This, the people, this feeling. And Nadia had known exactly and completely what she meant. Jae-Won came into the kitchen. He did this every morning, like it was the one moment in the day that was entirely and only his. He moved differently now, less weight in his shoulders, more room in his face, like a man who had learned that not everything had to be held at a distance to be kept safe. He stopped behind her, put his hand on her shoulder. She covered it with hers without thinking, automatic, like breathing. Are you happy, he said. He asked it seriously, the way he asked everything. She thought about it. She gave it the weight it deserved. Yes, she said. Completely. Yes. He pressed his lips to the top of her head. He said nothing else. He didn't need to. The city blazed outside, beautiful and indifferent as always, knowing nothing about what happened inside the buildings it surrounded. Not caring. Just going on. The two of them in the kitchen. Knowing everything. That was enough. That was more than enough. That was the whole thing. Besties, if this story hit you somewhere deep, if you felt every single piece of that slow burn from a transaction to a kitchen table at 2 in the morning, if you felt the garden, if you felt the moment she told him the truth about his father when everyone else was protecting themselves, if you felt him say, "I stopped being able to not feel it about 3 weeks ago," then I need 3 things from you right now. 1. Subscribe. Hit that button, because we bring you stories exactly like this every single day, and you do not want to miss a single one. 2. Smash that like button. Tell me you want more of this heat. This slow, hard love that starts in a contract and ends in something no contract could contain. 3. Drop a comment right now. Tell me which moment hit you the hardest. Was it the lobby? The garden? The kitchen at 2 a.m.? The first kiss? Your comments are everything to me. They are literally why I show up every day and do this. Thank you for staying to the very last word. And remember, besties, sometimes the most dangerous thing you can do is walk into a room that smells like power and fall in love with the man who runs it.